Alrighty, so here we have the next kind of bit of videos in our video notes series for Unit 5, Solving Systems of Equations. And for this one, this is going to be kind of the start of what I'm going to call 5.4. As you've kind of seen, like 5.3 and 5.4 are kind of mixed together, but I'm officially calling this 5.4. And essentially, what this unit or this topic of Unit 5 is going to deal with is solving, is essentially solving systems, you know, the ways that we've learned in the past, but basically these are, word problems. These are essentially like, dealing with, trying to solve systems of equations like in like, with like real world application to it, you know. So the idea with solving systems of equations here, the idea with the word problems is, the only real skill that is really needed here is setting up the actual problem. The actual equations themselves. Once we do that, then it turns into, a solving, systems, of equations problem like we've been doing in the past. The biggest skill that we need to learn here is how to set up the equations, and we'll go about doing that right now. All right, so we have this problem here. I'm not going to read it out. I'm not going to read it all out. You can read, it obviously here. So let's go ahead and set up our equation. So the first thing we want to do, we need to determine our variables. And what I mean by that is in every system of equations, that we've dealt with, we have two variables, all right? I'm going to say two variables, all right? Mostly either an x or a y, all right? Just the ones we've dealt with. And the first thing we need to do is, when I mean by determine our variables, we need to determine, what are our variables going to represent? What is x or what is y going to represent here? So, and when we do that, we really want to look at what is the problem asking us, okay? What is the problem really asking us to find? And in this instance, what it really is telling us is it's asking us for how many cheese pizzas and how many meat lovers pizzas, all right? So from there, we have two kind of items that they want to find out, two unknowns that we want to find. That's what our variables are going to be. So it's going to turn into x is equal to, and then y is equal to. So let's just say x is equal to the number, I'm going to use the little hashtag symbol there, of cheese pizzas, all right? And then y is equal to the number of meat lover. I'm going to draw a little heart there. Meat lovers pizzas, all right? Not a very good heart there, but whatever. All right, so we have our two variables situated. Remember, the problem's asking us for how many cheese pizzas and how many meat lovers pizzas. So I've determined that my x is going to represent how many cheese pizzas I'm going to get, and my y is going to determine how many meat lovers pizzas I'm going to have. Now, from there, once we know what our variables mean, then I'm going to go ahead and start setting up my equations here. So let's look at the information they give us. So they give us that the total cost of our pizzas is $90, and they also tell you that the total number of slices for the pizzas is 50. All right, so that's kind of another step, is look at your totals. All right, look at totals. All right. Because a lot of times the totals are going to help us set up both of our equations, because those are usually the linchpins of setting up our equations. So when we want to set these up, so it says us that the total cost of our pizzas is $90. So let's just start ahead and say equals $90. All right, let's just go ahead and set up equals 90. All right. And then let's go ahead and look at, what's the other information associated with cost. And it tells us up here that cheese pizza is worth $10 and meat lovers is $15. Now remember, I don't know how many meat lovers and cheese pizzas I bought, but I know that however many I bought, which is x, if I multiply that x by 10, that's how much money I spent on cheese pizzas. So I'm going to write out 10 times x. And similarly for meat lovers pizzas, 15 times y, that gives me how much money I spent on my meat lovers pizza, so it turns into 15y. And this is the total cost, and remember, the total cost was $90. So in order to get, basically what that tells me that whatever I spent, this is however much I spent on cheese pizzas. Let me say cheese money. And this is how much I spend on meat lovers. I'm just going to write, a little meat. That's a terrible heart there, but whatever. Meat lovers pizza. And combined, this equals $90. So to combine that, I just add them, all right? Because this plus this all has to equal $90, all right? Now let's figure out our other total, 50 slices, all right? So we have 50 total slices. And it tells us that we have 6 slices of cheese pizza. We have cheese pizzas have 6 slices attached to them, and the meat lovers pizzas have 8 slices. Again, I don't know how many cheese pizzas I have yet, but I know it's going to be X. So X is going to be some number of cheese pizzas. 6 times X gives me slices of cheese, a slice of cheese, all right? And then 8 times Y, that's going to give me the total slices of meat lovers pizza. So it's going to be 8 times Y. Meat slice. And remember, the total number of the slices, this amount of slices, the slice of cheese, and this amount of slices of meat lovers, combined is 50. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and add those together. All right. Go ahead and adding those together there. All righty. All righty. Now from there, we've finally set up our system there. All right. We finally set up our system. It is going to be 10x plus 5y is equal to 90 on top. And then going to be 6x plus 8y is equal to 50 on the bottom. All right. Now, these numbers don't look amazing, which is going to be kind of typical. So we have to be able to, work with some big numbers here. So I'm going to pick a variable. And then from here, I'm going to now, use my methods that I've used, either elimination or substitution. I wouldn't really want to graph any of these equations, because these are going to be really big equations. So I'm going to go ahead and use elimination. So I'm going to pick a variable over here to go ahead and eliminate, and I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the x's because those ones kind of look, I can kind of see a pathway to eliminate those. So remember, when I'm eliminating variables, I want to be able to add my x's together in order to cancel. And right now, I can't cancel them. 10x plus 6x gets me 16x. So now now I need to multiply one or both of these equations to get me, numbers that I can simplify. So what's a number that I can multiply both 6 and 10 by, to eliminate? Well, let's see, if I can multiply this whole equation here by 3 and this bottom one by a -5, well, if you take a look at that, I'm going to go ahead and distribute out, and sorry about that. So my new equation for this 3 right here, when I distribute this out, it's going to be, I'm going to write it in a little red here. So it's going to be 30x plus, I do 3 times 15, that gets me 45y is equal to 270 right here. All right, it's equal to 270. And then when I multiply by this -5 here, actually I'm going to do this one in green. Distribute out this -5 here, I get -30x. -5 times 8 is going to give me a -40y. And then 50 times 5, that just gets me -250. And then equal those together. Now, if I go ahead and add these together, now I look to see that my 30s go ahead and cancel out. So I can automatically go ahead and cancel those out, and then I just go ahead and start adding the rest of them. So I do 45y plus 40y, and I'll do the rest of this in, let's say purple over here. So, darn it, if I add 45y minus 40, or plus a -40y, that just gets me 5y. And then this is 270 plus a -250. You can't really see the negative, but this is 270 plus a -250. If you add those together, that just gets you to 20. And then from there, you solve for y. Y is equal to no, not 5, excuse me. Y is equal to 4, all right? And just with like any of our other equations, we need to take our y here and plug it back into one of our equations. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in for this y right here. And that's going to get me 6x plus 8 times 4 is equal to 50. You got 6x, darn it, 6x equal to plus 32 is equal to 50. Minus the 32 on both sides, solve for x. 6x is equal to, let's see here, just to do that little subtraction, we get 18, which means that x is going to equal to 3. So what we've determined is we're going to have 3 cheese pizzas and 4 meat lovers, all right? So I know, quite a bit of stuff to, quite a lot of work there. Again, biggest thing here is setting up our equations, all right? Biggest thing is to set up our equations. And we'll pause the video and move on to the next slide. All right, so we got this next one here. It's essentially, you know, this question about Cookie Monster and, you know, how much, and he's eating all these cookies, and essentially it asks, you know, how much of each type of cookie, you know, did each type of cookie cost. Now we have 2 types of cookies, chocolate chip cookies and peanut butter cookies. Now, remember, first step that we need to do here is determine our variables, all right? Determine what our variables are going to mean. So I got an x equals and a y equals. I know that I have chocolate chip cookies, but I want to know how much each of them cost. So basically, what I'm going to have is x is going to be cost of, and I'm just going to say chocolate chip cookies, chopped chip. And then y is then going to equal the cost of my remaining cookie, which is the peanut butter cookie. So cost of, you know, peanut butter. Let's just write peanut butter. All right. So now, after I determine my variables, now let's look at my totals here. So it doesn't. So this one's kind of a different worded problem, but it essentially says that, you know, first day he spends $24. And so the second day he spent $44. So let's start with the 24, all right? So it's 24. So he ate 6 chocolate chip cookies, and that's, remember, the 24 is the amount of money he spent that day, all right? So we don't know, again, we don't know how much the chocolate chip cookies cost, but we know that he ate 6 times X, that's the amount of money he spent with chocolate chip cookies on that day. And then he also spent 3 times Y amount of money on the peanut butter. All right, PB right there. All right, because again, we don't know how much he has, how much these cost, but we know that on that first day, whatever he bought, he had 6, and he had 3 chocolate chip peanut butter cookies, and peanut butter cookies. Sorry. And how much money he spent on the chocolate chip cookies was 6 times X, the amount of X being the amount of money that the chocolate chip cookies are. And then with the peanut butter cookies, we know that he spent 3 times Y, again, Y being the amount of the cost of 1 peanut butter cookie. And we know that combined, it's just 6X plus 3Y, all right? Because again, these are the total, this and this combined, which is 6 plus this, equals the 24. Now, if we use that same logic to set up the next equation, we get that, you know, 44, he spent $44, and he had 18 chocolate chip cookies, so it's going to be 18. Again, he had 18 chocolate chip cookies times how much those chocolate chip cookies cost. That's how much he spent on chocolate chip on the second day. And then however many he spent on the peanut butter cookies was 2, because he only bought 2 times how much the chocolate chip, the peanut butter cookies cost, which is just Y. And we know that these 2 combined give us $44. So we would just add these 2 together to get $44, okay? All right, so we've set up our equations. I'm going to wait till the next video to kind of solve this. You will see me solving this in the next video. Thank you.